The Ghoul, 1975. It's another Saturday night horror movie review. We checked it out, this British horror film, starring the legendary Peter Cushing, who is in dozens,
Star Wars and
dozens of other British horror films from the era.
always the same kind of character with that look,
So
stern
let's
look.
set the scene. It starts off with this British soiree with affluent society, and they do dangerous things.
Hold up,
and
there's a filler
hold up,
intro.
Wait a
with
minute.
The house party, and they're doing like a charades movie, like all these old thrillers. Where they start off with charades in the house party, and you think it's like really, but you know, it's not. And they found the guy all hanging. It's pretty sweet, but then it's like, oh, it's just a joke. Let's go back to partying. And then it goes back.
So
to
these two
music.
couples decide to go on this car race.
So it's a bunch of filler, and then, yeah,
to
they're
the
like,
ocean.
oh, we're gonna race.
Because we can afford it.
But then they run out of gas. One of the racers.
So then they go on this race, and it's to the edge of the cliff of this ravine, and they get lost towards the ocean, and it gets all fogged and shrouded, and
so the guy
they get
leaves,
separated.
They both leave with the guys are the drivers, and there's a girl to be their witness. So then he leaves to go get gas. She falls asleep, and it's filler forever. And then a caretaker, kind of creepy guy,
Played by John Hurt.
Comes and takes her.
And he's a scruffy, crass henchman, and he ends up fondling her and takes her back to Peter Cushing's
mansion.
And he appears to be an honorary, exemplary guy at first, of course. And
then it's filler from here on out till 47 minutes in the movie.
And he's like, and they don't even discuss about how John Hurt
his connection
feels up the girl. And
I know he slaps her around. They don't even talk about it. Like
he doesn't even.
Make
she
sense.
just was like at home, like, oh, okay, well, thanks for taking me in.
Thanks for beating me and helping me find this nice gentleman.
She's like, oh, he'll look for your boyfriend or whatever. And he also has this creepy, weird housekeeper who's from India. And this is where the ghoul comes into play. She starts summoning the spirit, which is supposedly the ghoul. And you're like, that's a ghoul? That's a dirty dude in flip-flops. And trunks.
It's a mummy is what it is in flip-flops. And dirty old trunks.
And this is actually rare for a British horror movie. He actually ends up slashing her.
They don't show any
in the
blood
canopy
in the first
bed.
kill. There's only 2 kills in the movie. And 1 suicide.
And so the girl death is actually slasher, and it's really poorly edited, as you might imagine. But there is some blood on the knife, but no blood coming out, or no real practical effects. Anyway, so let's go on.
So the next filler scenes all after that is the Arab lady taking care of her body and cutting it up and putting it into things to bring up to the ghoul's room. Even though it's not a ghoul, it's just some...
So the ghoul, if you look up the definition, is a spirit that feeds on the dead.
And this is nothing close to a ghoul.
But he feeds on the dead. But he's not a spirit. He's not a phantom. And
then it cuts.
So then the second couple was on the race, if you can recall. They end up going up to the area in search for the first couple that ended up getting killed. And then it follows them for the second half of the movie.
And they go to the police station to get them to help.
And the British cop takes them all the way out to the crime scene where they find the car in the ravine. And he's like,
we ain't going down there. He's like, she's missing, obviously, she's gone, but
at this
all the locals around here is like, it's too dangerous to go look. So
and
you
this
can look.
Scotland Yard police officer, he shows up with a baton on a bicycle, Deputy Winston style from Cabin Fever. And he leaves to go to Wambusa or something to get the primo pussy, man.
That's not what happens, but he does have...
Or to Manchester or Worcestershire or whatever.
He does have a bike, and he just rides off like Winston from Cabin Fever.
And then the second girl, she's left in the car, and she ends up driving it 5 miles per hour and crashes it. It's completely retarded.
Doesn't even make sense. But it's because she was possessed. You tried driving a car.
Yeah, you try driving a car possessed.
5 miles per hour, see you're possessed, see if you've gone to a ditch.
I will. Possess me tonight.
Okay.
Anyway. So she gets sacrificed to the ghoul, as you might imagine.
The caretaker takes her and fondles her. Fondles the new chick in his chicken coop.
And
To sum it all up, it gets to the end right here.
No. The henchman gets into the quicksand.
And the brother,
one of my biggest
who's the other racer,
phobias in life, the quicksand. You just never know when it's coming.
Yeah, or how quick it's gonna be.
And they have he has a confessional where he's like, "Oh,
he's like,
he
made
me do it. Go to the house. The guy made me do it.
There's something upstairs. We finally find out that the respectable mansion owner. There's something upstairs that they feed human flesh.
So the final
boyfriend is back. The way he says it, but not really.
And the whole story of how he has the ghoul with him is he was a former priest on assignment, on a missionary assignment in India or whatnot.
So he's seen a whole bunch of cult activity over there.
And he's renounced his religion, and his son got like possessed by this Indian.
They don't even really state it at all. It's just so much filler that you don't know what the hell's going on.
And so the final guy ends up getting stabbed, and like
he goes upstairs. Yeah, he comes in and goes upstairs like, I'm just gonna go see the monster. Let me see it for my own eyes. And he opens the door and he just stabs him right in the dome, and you can't see it until he turns around at how big the knife is. It's in his face. And it's
so explicit,
which is on the cover right here.
The gore, and you actually see it penetrated and bleeding, and amazing effects for it. It's almost surreal.
And then the Arab lady just picks up his knife.
It was as explicit as Lindsay Lohan's craziness. It was
she
that
brings the
clear.
Knife back to the mummy. But anyways, okay movie.
Shut up, okay?
Whole bunch of filler.
No. The monk walks up. The monk ghoul.
Oh, this is where he
Shut up. Yeah, he walks in with this haphazard makeup. It's like they just took a green spray can, just sprayed it onto his face in the middle of it.
He's like a total monk in flip flops, and then
and it totally takes you out of the mood, and you're like, "What the hell?" And then in the end, like, Peter Cushing just lets him like do whatever, and he just
like, that is not
Peter Cushing whips out his revolver, shoots him, and then goes into his study, and off screen he ends up committing suicide. And you're like, strictly suicide. It just doesn't make sense. And then you think about it, and you're like, it makes perfect sense. His freaking son was a gigantic freaking ghoul.
Green monk. He wasn't a ghoul.
Flip-flops, eating on freaking human flesh. Anyway, it's really not worth it. It's only solid. I'd give it a D+ at best.
D- at worst.